This is the Financial Beat, helping you hit all the right notes in your financial plan. So sit back as we strike up the band. The Financial Beat with Logan Sadler starts now.
Welcome to the Financial Beat with Logan Sadler, Vice President and Chief Investment Officer at Ruggieri Financial. I'm Ron Stutz, wherever you are in Southern California today. We appreciate your listening. Ruggieri Financial is in Hemet and Redlands, and of course, very accessible to you by a phone call. I'll give you that number in just a second. But Logan, first of all, it's great to be back with you.
Yeah, my favorite day of the week here, Radio Week. Very excited to be here and really just looking forward to a great show.
Well, the phone number to call if you'd like to have a one-on-one conversation with Logan Sadler is 888-823-PLAN. That's 888-823-PLAN. As always, we call it a discovery meeting, the first time you get together and kind of get to know each other. And it's not going to cost you a penny and not going to obligate you to do anything either. 888-823-PLAN is your number to call. As we get started on the show this week, Logan, you know, we always talk about federal crimes on the book on the books that are really ridiculous, some of them. I wonder why in the world these things are still in writing anywhere, but do you realize, I'm certain you haven't thought about this, but do you realize it's a federal crime to lease a car to a person who plans to solicit a prostitute too close to a military base?
No, I've never ran into that, and it's funny, like you said, it's crazy that every time these ones come out, it's amazing that obviously these were written, as we always say, because somebody had done them or tried them. So no, but now I know. Note to self, that's interesting.
Yeah, don't ever do that. And I suppose if you are planning to solicit a prostitute not anywhere close to a military base, it's okay.
Yeah, that's the funny part about that, right? A little speculation, just not too close to a military base.
Yeah. Well, we begin the show with a little ridiculous stuff, but let's talk about some very serious things that are going on right now. These are what you might call high anxiety times. Thanks to a variety of economic circumstances, many people out there are experiencing some form of financial anxiety at the moment. And I'm just thinking about how you might be advising your clients in these situations right now. First of all, there are people who are in the market for a new home. And we've talked about this a lot. And they're getting frustrated by the incredibly high prices and the competition that exists with multiple offers and all that kind of thing for the existing inventory out there. What are you saying to those folks?
Yeah, it's definitely a very frustrating time for a lot of people that are trying to buy. It's obviously a great time for the people that are trying to sell. It's always how that market goes. You know, I bought my home about 3 years ago, yeah. And I was frustrated then, and there wasn't really a supply chain issue at the time, so it's a very, you're very anxious, you're very nervous around those times, so it's always very scary. But I know right now it's just been extremely frustrating for a lot of clients because the housing prices are going so high, the competitive offers are so sometimes ridiculous in some cases what people are doing, and sometimes they're coming in all cash, and so it's a very hard time. I know I had a friend of mine who I think he put like 9 different offers in on different homes and didn't get one of them. Wow. And he was every time, he was 10 or 15 or 20,000 at least above the asking price. So I know it's a very tough time for a lot of people that are trying to buy the home. My advice is always to make sure you take your time. Make sure that you're not rushing into something and paying way too much for something that you might not be at for a while. Make sure it's somewhere where you plan to stay for a while. A lot of people do forget. I always like to remind people that housing prices do come down, okay? Yeah. They don't always just go up in a straight line like they kind of have been. So it's important to make sure you're not getting into a house just to get into a house and paying top dollar for it. You want to make sure, again, it's somewhere where you plan to be for a while. It's somewhere where you can see yourself either growing into or, if you're going into that retirement phase, being able to stay there for a while. It has plenty of accessibility for you as you age. So you want to make sure all those things are factored in when you're looking for that home. And then obviously, make sure that you're getting the right price for what you want. Obviously, there's not a lot of bargaining out there, but making sure, again, that you're just taking your time and making sure you're making the right decision for you and your family.
Well, I'll tell you, I feel for people who are trying to buy a house right now, particularly those trying to buy their first home, with sometimes some extreme cases of selling prices going for up to $100,000 more than the seller is asking, which is really kind of crazy. And kind of a related question here. There are people who are trying to build or remodel a home who are having trouble because of the incredibly high materials costs. What do you tell them?
Yeah, it's funny you brought that up. I was looking at, as I love to look at, I was looking at a couple charts the other day, and it was amazing when you look at the average construction cost. The chart I was looking at, I believe, went back to like 2000, and it shows kind of, the average supply chain cost. Basically, in 2021 and 2020, the end of 2020, those 2 years, construction costs went up almost double. When you look at overall, and I know a lot of people were talking just about lumber a few months back. That was the hot topic, but you look across the board, numbers have really just went up to extremely high amounts. And so what that comes down to is, again, making sure you're not rushing into anything, making sure that you're able to somehow calculate for some of these rising costs and make sure that you're exactly building what you want, what you need, and also make sure that we're not rushing into anything. And it's not something that couldn't wait a little while if it could. Again, you never know if prices will continue to go up or if they might come down a little bit. So just always making sure timing is everything. Not timing exactly when to do it, but making sure it's the right time for what it is you're trying to do. Because it's expensive. I know just doing little knicky-knack stuff around the house. It is expensive right now when you're building or buying any type of material for basically anything from grass, sod to wood to metal to concrete. All of it is just extremely, extremely high. So making sure, again, it's the right time and try to get those deals where you can.
Right now, I need to replace a board on my deck. And I'm just dreading it because I know I'm probably going to have to take out a second mortgage to pay for it.
For the one board, right? It's so true.
Exactly.
It's so true.
It's crazy. Probably the number one topic of conversation for just about everybody right now is we're all concerned about what's going on in Ukraine with the Russia situation. And a lot of people are absolutely fretting about the economics effect of that war going on over there. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, listen, to be honest, war and all that's just awful. It's something where it's extremely scary for so many people and for basically everyone. And this kind of, is turning into like war typically does, it turns into kind of a world event. Everyone's paying attention, everyone's watching, and it does create very high anxiety. I know some of our older clients that I've been talking with that have been around a while, they've seen things like this multiple times, right? So it's something where it is very scary. It's something where you need to really... it puts life in perspective, I think, for a lot of people, how quick things change, like COVID, and wars and stuff like that. These events happen quick. And so what I always like to say from an investment standpoint is these types of events, it's crazy to say, but they really shouldn't be altering your investment decisions because we should have already had a plan for, volatile markets. I always talk about don't try to time the market. I have so many clients right now, the market's down. You'll hear people, oh yeah, well, I went to cash till all this kind of sorts itself out. Well, what happens when it goes back up? You're going to be too late to get back in. So we believe in, these events are going to happen. In any financial plan that we build, we have to calculate there's going to be market volatility. And so you need to understand that when you're positioning a retirement plan or even just a traditional investment portfolio, you need to be investing for the long term. I look at, you look back when you don't always know what the market's going to do, Ron. I guess that's what it comes back to. Yeah. You never know what the market's going to do. You look at what was going on a few months back or a little over a year ago when the Capitol got raided, the markets went up huge that day. Sometimes things don't make sense of why the market goes up or down. So it's important to make sure you're understanding what you're investing in, making sure you have that comprehensive plan to where we might have other money that we call safe money, right? That's not being affected by the wars or potential market volatility. So it's really important to make sure that you are looking at the investments, not during these volatile times, but when the market's good, you want to make sure you're making the adjustments you need to make yourself feel comfortable if stuff like this comes up again.
Well, if you filled up your gas tank recently on your car, you know that gas prices are high. There are people out there who are absolutely shell-shocked by the current cost of filling up your gas tank, and that's something that's affecting just about everybody in this country.
Well, I could throw myself in that category, right? It's something where everyone can, like you said, Ron, everyone can relate to that, as well as you talked about a second mortgage for having to do something. Filling up the gas tank is one of them. I actually am one of the people that does have a truck. Thank goodness I don't have to drive it very often. I have a work car that I commute with, but I had to drive it over the weekend, and I was just dreading going to the gas station to fill it up. It is something where it's record high for most people, especially all over California, where A lot of people have never seen gas prices this high or never hoped they would get this high, and it's here. So it's something, again, where inflation is one of those things where we wish we had control over it. Gas prices, obviously due to what's going on in the world right now, is what is causing a lot of this increase. So it's really, really important to make sure, again, that we have, extra means. And what I always like to say is, for people working right now, yes, this is horrible. It's not fun to have rising gas prices, but you still have things like overtime. You can pick up extra shifts. You have all these extra ways to make extra money during events like this. When you're retired is when this really hurts. For a lot of the people that are trying to do an RV trip or they're trying to take a vacation, all this stuff is when inflation or cost of goods going up really impacts your retirement, especially if you're on a fixed income. So again, it's something where in a retirement plan, you really, really need to make sure that you've kind of accounted for inflation. Yes, we don't always know it's going to go up this high, but to have some type of protection in there for someone on a fixed income is very important, because it's just not a fun day to go to the gas station.
A real variety of reasons why gas prices are so high, and let's just hope they don't stay that way. I would love to be able to fill up my tank, for a little less money for sure. And this is a conversation that you and I have on this show all the time. Some people handle market volatility very well. Other people are just really uncomfortable when the market goes up or down and, anything happens quickly. A lot of people out there concerned about market volatility, especially right now.
Yeah, great point, Ron. You're totally right. I actually never have anybody come into my office and say, I love when the market's volatile. That doesn't really happen. It bothers most people because, again, it's not fun to see your life savings go up and down, or your 401k or 403b go up and down. So it's very important to understand that markets are volatile. I always tell people, I get asked this question all the time, Ron, is it a good time to get in the market? Mm-hmm. And I get two answers, right? When the market's good, that people say, well, Logan, I know you're saying this investment plan, we have some protection, we have annuities or life insurance, we have market stuff, but I don't know if it's a good idea to get in the market right now. The market's so high. I think I'll wait till the market drops and then I'll get in. Yeah. Right? That's one answer you'll hear. And then that same person, the market drops, they go, you know what? I don't think it's a good idea to get in the market. It's too volatile. It's really low right now. So you get those people on the flip side. The biggest thing with the market is, if it is part of your investment plan, again, you need to make sure that when you're putting money in there, you're looking long-term with it. The market is never a spot to put money for a week or 2 weeks or a year. It's somewhere where you want to make sure you have, 5, 10, or 15 years or 20 years in some cases to let that market portfolio do what it needs to do and be able to provide income and things of that sort along the way, either from a portion of the market or other investments. I always tell people, when we're looking at retirement planning, there is a lot of other options out there to supplement the market. We call it offsetting risk. There's a lot of investments out there where, if you're one of those people where the market volatility is really affecting your day-to-day life, or upsetting your stomach or any of that, you probably don't have a comprehensive plan built out. You probably don't have other assets in there. When you're looking at retirement, you might want to look at things like fixed index annuities. For some of our clients that are looking to offset risks, fixed index annuities are a great way. For those of you that don't know, they provide no market downturn, but they give market participation in the upside. So it's a great way to not outperform the market or anything like that, but it's a great way to earn a decent interest rate with a portion of your money, as well as protect from the downside. There's other things like CDs and money markets, as well as structured notes, or a lot of different real estate diversification. There's a lot of ways to build that comprehensive plan out to where the market volatility doesn't affect us as much. So I think that's what a lot of what we do, Ron, is when you guys come in for that discovery meeting and you guys are always wondering what happens at that discovery meeting. Well, we're a comprehensive retirement planning firm, and that's what we'll do is when you come in, we're going to ask those questions like, does market volatility bother you? Is your portfolio possibly too risky for you? And do we not have any other types of diversification like bonds, treasuries, fixed index annuities, a lot of these other investments that can sometimes offset risk? So give us a call. Come in, sit down. I'd love to spend an hour with you. It doesn't cost anything to come in and sit down, and let's see if we can't strike up a conversation that interests you in building out a comprehensive retirement plan. plan.
All right. If you'd like to have one of those discovery meetings that we talk about all the time, it is 888-823-PLAN. That's 888-823-PLAN. That is your number to call for Regary Financial. Logan Sadler is the Vice President, Chief Investment Officer, and you will have an opportunity to talk to him one-on-one. You know, he can give you all kinds of food for thought and throw out all this wonderful wisdom on the radio here, but can't really get specific when it comes to helping you put together a plan until he knows more specifics about your individual situation. 888-823-PLAN. That'll get you a discovery meeting. You'll get a call back, by the way. Just leave your name and phone number today. You don't need to worry about talking to anybody today, but then you'll get a call back from Regary Financial and arrange the time to have that conversation with Logan. 888-823-PLAN. This is Ron Stutz along with Logan Sadler, and we'll have more coming up on today's edition of the Financial Beat.
This is the Financial Beat.
Welcome back to the Financial Beat with the one and only Logan Sadler, Vice President, Chief Investment Officer at Regary Financial, serving you in Southern California, convenient offices in Redlands and also Hemet. You can find out more about this radio show by going to financialbeatradio.com, financialbeatradio.com. Logan Sadler's phone number, 888-823-PLAN, 888-823-PLAN. Hope you will call that number. You can call right now, as a matter of fact. Don't need to talk to anybody today. Just leave your name and phone number. You'll get a call back, and then you can have a discovery meeting arranged with the one and only Logan Sadler. He's not going to put you off on anybody else. You'll be talking to the same guy that you hear on the radio. 888-823-PLAN. Logan, I'm excited about another way you're getting a lot of good information out to folks. You have some videos on YouTube now that folks can check out anytime, 24/7. Tell us about those.
Yeah, we're very excited about that, Ron. It's been up for about a month now, and so basically you go over to the Financial Beat YouTube channel. So just type in the Financial Beat YouTube channel and it'll actually populate you to our page. We're doing videos each week, and on the radio it's great because I'm able to talk about a lot of different things over our hour, but on the YouTube channel I really spend a lot of time on individual topics. So things like the 5 pillars of retirement planning, how to create an income plan, a lot of these questions that a lot of you guys have been wanting to know more about, a little bit more in depth, and it's visual. So you can actually see some of the charts and illustrations that we'll be using, as well as, again, this is each week content is loaded up on there with fresh videos. So go over there, click subscribe, and follow us, and look forward to the support.
This is the time of year where a lot of people get extra excited because it's March Madness. And, you know, if you're a college basketball fan at all, you got to love it. I love it every year. I'm glued to the TV for hours and hours sometimes watching these games. But in honor of this year's edition of March Madness, it's time for our annual tradition of trying to see what financial lessons we can learn from the NCAA tournament. First of all, everybody has this bracketology thing. It seems you can get into this poll or that poll, and you pick the winners, and predicting outcomes is what it's all about. But that's not something you want to do when it comes to financial matters, is it, Logan?
Yeah, no, definitely. You don't want to be sitting there predicting outcomes. I think a lot of people, like you said, Ron, are filling out brackets, or they're usually pretty confident that they got the good picks to win, and inevitably, you know, the first weekend of the tournament, that might just get completely ripped up and blown up into disarray. So, I think when it comes to financial planning, it's really important that you have a map, okay? We call it our retirement roadmap, okay? A lot of people do a blueprint or this or that. It's important to know what your retirement plan is going to look like. Our clients, if those of you guys are listening to the show, lots of you guys have came in, you know, maybe you're a nurse with Kaiser, or you're other type of professional. We have a lot of people calling in that might be, 3 years out from retirement or 2 years out from retirement, or some of them are retiring now. And so what we're doing is we're able to kind of set together a roadmap. At this age, we're going to start this in from this account. At this age, we're going to do Social Security. At this age, we're going to get this done. So, having that retirement roadmap of kind of exactly of where money's going to go, how money's going to come in, potential possibly changing in financial needs, maybe less risk is coming in next year, or this or that and the other. So there's a lot of different ways to make sure that you're not getting caught trying to predict outcomes, but you're really kind of mapping out of exactly what might unfold and what the plan will react to during those situations. So it's very, very important that your advisor, or if you're managing your own money, has really laid out that roadmap for you. That's what I know most of our clients, especially our new ones coming on board, most of them want that retirement roadmap and a planner that's working with them to implement that roadmap.
You can, when it comes to March Madness, you can implement all the best strategies and statistics and everything else and seed all these teams, which, people always complain about that, but I would not want to be one of the people on the NCAA selection committee because those are tough choices to make. But,
yes.
Inevitably, it seems, there's a 12 seed who upsets a 5 seed, that kind of thing. And there are upsets in life along the way as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I know, everybody loves that Cinderella story. Come on. I mean, there's a Golden State Warriors team years ago, the We Believe team. They were the ace seed and upset the number 1 seed in the NBA, and it was a huge thing. Everybody loves that upset story, the Cinderella story, unless it's your team, right? unless if it's your team that falls victim to the upset. So I think it's the same way in the financial world. I think everything happens. There's always winners and losers. Market crashes might be bad for some people, but might be great for some short sellers. I think rising interest rates hurt some people, but they also kind of help other people. So it's really important to know and make sure that you're kind of making sure that your plan is built and you're not just betting all on the underdog. Okay, you really want to make sure that you're really diversifying and looking at different outcomes and noting that, hey, we might have some money here that's maybe more risky, like private equity or things of that sort. But all of our money's not in one place. We're prepared for if that upset happens or if our winner or loser goes bad, we have other things covered and we've looked at other assets and we've positioned ourselves where we might be in a situation to take advantage of some upsets. So I think that's very, very important when you're constructing the retirement plan to make sure that you're planning for that.
We're talking about March Madness and all this basketball going on and how that might apply to the financial world sometimes. And, we all have a tendency to, if we have a team in the NCAA tournament, we may pick that team to go far and to do really well. And sometimes that's not a good strategy to take. And the same thing, I guess, applies to the financial world. You might be tempted to put a lot of stock in what your own company is going to do, and that might not work out.
Yeah, I don't know about you, Ron, but I have been caught in this for sure. I'm always like, yeah, this is it. It's their year, and every year they lose, but every year it's going to be their year. If it's your own team, it's easy to convince yourself and maybe have some good fun with your buddies about, this or that, the other, as far as what you think is going to happen.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is looking at, getting too into your own, convincing yourself that maybe you're too confident. I think a lot of people in the financial world invest way too heavily in company stock. I've seen it time and time again. We work with a lot of these big companies out there where companies like, Costco, Edison, a lot of these people we have as clients and have had for clients for years, and they do tend to put a lot in company stock. So I think it's important to know the risk and the outcome of what happens if there was, some type of fluctuation with that company. How would it impact the portfolio? Would it impact your retirement? Would you have to be delayed longer? So there's a lot of that, as well as just overconfidence in general. There's a lot of overconfidence in being able to, I'm a great stock picker, or I'm going to put all my money in this mutual fund and I'll be fine, or this, that, and the other. It's really important to make sure that you're not just, picking your own team to win, but making sure you have realistic expectations as well as proper diversification is huge when planning for retirement or, investment planning in general. It's very important that we don't go, all in on our home team.
You're listening to Logan Sadler here on the Financial Beat, and I'm going to give you his number in just a few moments here, 888-823-PLAN. We'll repeat that number, and I hope you will take the opportunity to write it down. Very important to get one of those discovery meetings going. Some of us, when we sit down in front of a bracket and start picking teams to win, sometimes we may pick some upsets, and that might work out great, but more likely it won't work out, and that's going to blow the heck out of your entire bracket. How can you compare that to the financial world?
Yeah, again, that's another thing that's happened to me as well, Ron. Probably yourself on the sports world.
Yep.
I think it's okay to pick some minor upsets. It's okay to put a little money here, a little pick there, things of that sort. But you want to really make sure that it's not all your eggs in that basket. I think with investing, that's very similar to people taking on risk here and there. That's okay. Things like cryptocurrencies, which are a huge topic right now. that are traditionally a lot more of a volatile, risky investment. If you want to take a very small percentage of your estate or of your fund money, let's call it, okay, it's not going to hurt you if you lost $5,000 or whatever, right? If you want to pick a couple stocks here and there that are maybe kind of beaten down and might have some good upside down the road, it might be okay. But the really important part is if you're retiring soon, if you're getting ready to use the money for something in a relatively short time, or getting ready again for some type of big life changes, or putting too much of your retirement savings in something that is too risky, it could be really, really detrimental. And I think knowing that it's okay to have some money that we're playing with, but you don't want to play with your life savings. So I see people all the time where, they've gotten either hurt by this stock or that stock or this investment. So it's very important to understand what you're getting into, know the risk, and making sure that we're not just caught doing risky picks. You really want to understand what you're investing in and understand that it's beneficial for you in the long run, and it's not more risk than you're comfortable with, or more risk than maybe your wife's comfortable with, or your husband, depending on who's the risk taker of the family. But it's very important to understand when you're looking at building out your financial plan, like these 4 topics, predicting outcomes, upsets, picking your own team to win, or risky picks, you got to understand that does translate into a comprehensive retirement plan.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I know that a lot of people out there have been listening to the show for quite a while now, and maybe checking out your YouTube videos and everything else, and saying, I'm going to get around to it sometime and call Logan Sadler and see what that's all about. Why not go ahead and do it now? And Logan, what happens in a discovery meeting that we talk about so often?
Yeah, the best part about our discovery process is, those of you that know, you just call the phone number, leave a message, and we'll give you a call back first thing Monday morning. You'll get somebody from my office will reach out to you, and they schedule a Zoom appointment or in-person appointment at one of our offices, and you actually meet with me. We're going to sit down and we're going to spend an hour. I call it a deep dive because, again, we're going to dive into you. We're going to dive into what it is you're trying to accomplish. Again, our specialty is people that are planning and approaching retirement, or maybe just transitioning into retirement. We are comprehensive retirement planners that really look at the big picture. We are fiduciaries, so when we're getting together during that discovery meeting, we're going to be talking a lot about what your hopes and dreams and your fears and your goals are, because that's very important when building out a retirement plan. There's no pressure. We're probably not even going to talk about any types of investments or products. Just getting to understand you and your family's goals is what that discovery meeting is all about. And again, it's with myself. It doesn't cost anything to come in, sit down, spend an hour with me, and show me, and I'll show you how I could provide value to you and your family in retirement.
888-823-PLAN. 888-823-PLAN. That is the number to call for Regari Financial. Logan Sadler is the Vice President and Chief Investment Officer. You hear him here on this show every week. Isn't it about time you got around to making that phone call? 888-823-PLAN. Now, at Regari Financial, they have great partnerships with local CPAs, real estate agents, mortgage lenders, Medicare specialists, attorneys, all these specialists to help offer well-rounded guidance in all things financial for their clients. It's not just about picking investments. It is taking the comprehensive approach. And as Logan has said so many times, he is a fiduciary, which means that he has your best interest at heart. And there's no cost for having this initial conversation here. Not going to charge you any fees, not going to obligate you to do anything down the road either. That, one more time, that phone number is 888-823-PLAN. You're listening to the Financial Beat. You certainly made a good choice for a way to spend some time today. Ron Stutz here along with Logan Sadler, and there's more after this.
Don't you want to see sharp and not be flat in retirement? This is the Financial Beat.
We're back now with more of the Financial Beat, starring the one and only Logan Sadler. You could say often imitated, but never duplicated. Logan, of course, the VP and Chief Investment Officer at Regari Financial. You're going to enjoy getting to know Logan Sadler. But first, in order to get a conversation going with him, all you need to do is call this number, 888-823-PLAN. 888-823-PLAN. I've certainly enjoyed getting to know Logan as long as we've been doing this radio show, and I think you will too. You can actually, during that discovery meeting that you have, kind of sit back and relax. He's going to ask you some questions, and you'll actually be the one doing most of the talking. 888-823-PLAN is your number to call if you'd like to have a conversation. And Logan Sadler works with all 3 generations of some of the client families at Regari. Many of those clients have been with this firm for more than a quarter of a century. That's a long time. It's all about getting you to and through retirement. 888-823-PLAN is your number to call once again. Hey, Logan, did you see this story about someone in Colorado? Someone broke into a parked freight truck and stole a box of human heads that were being transported for medical research purposes. Police haven't said how many heads were in the box, but I would imagine when they catch whoever did this, heads are going to roll.
Yeah, there you go. Good pitch there. Yeah, no, that's a creepy story. Let's be honest. I mean, that's a weird and creepy story, if you ask me. I wonder who would want to steal a cargo truck essentially full of heads. That's pretty interesting. But yeah, that's I did not see that in the news. It was not on my Bloomberg or my stock news I was reading, but definitely that's why we love you here, Ron. You keep us up to date on all this type of stuff.
Well, I would imagine that maybe the people who stole this thought it was something else and didn't know that it was a box full of human heads. I mean,
well, you talk about being disappointed when you get home, right?
Yeah, no kidding. Well, let's talk about some more serious issues here. And I know that you have folks, particularly when you meet them for the first time, they may ask you the wrong questions when you sit down and talk with them during a discovery meeting. A lot of people have questions about their retirement plan, but we find that they could often be asking much better questions. For example, if someone says to you, "How much money do I need to have saved in order to retire?" Is there a better question that they should be asking?
Yeah, there is in that situation. I think the better question and the better way to phrase that is, how much income will I need and how much will my savings give me? I think that's the biggest question where we have to switch that because, yeah, it's great. Okay, you have $2 million. Well, that's great. But I mean, how much income do you need? If you needed, $500,000 a year of income, obviously we're pushing it, right? So it's very important to kind of reverse that. So, okay, I'm used to living off $100,000 a year. I think I can get by with probably $70,000 or $80,000 a year in retirement. So how much money do I need to have put away, right? Or how much risk do I have to take with my investments to generate that income? As well, how long will it last? I think that's a lot of what the biggest questions that we ask when this topic comes up as far as income planning. For those of you that don't know, that is one of we call it our 5 pillars of retirement planning. Income planning is one of the most important because that's what every good retirement plan's foundation is built around the income plan, right? Golf, travel, seeing your friends and family, all that's great, but it all costs money, which all revolves around the income plan. So it's very important to make sure you're asking that right question and trying to solve for the right answer. And so with our clients, we really like to phrase this to how much money do I need to put away to generate that $100,000 a year or that $200,000 a year I need in retirement? And how much risk do I want with that? Do I want to offset some of that risk through maybe, Social Security is another form of guaranteed income? There's also fixed index annuities that are another source of guaranteed income. There's also structured notes, which can provide a higher income, but might be a little bit more on the more moderate side. So you want to look at how much risk are we willing to take and how many different income streams will we have coming in to supplement the retirement income that a lot of you guys really want to know as far as how much income do I need in retirement.
You're listening to Logan Sadler, Rigari Financial, and we're talking about the wrong questions that people ask. Some folks may come into your office and say, "Logan, should I get long-term care insurance? Or should I just roll the dice?" Is there a better way to put that?
Yeah, a better way would be, what are all of my options for covering long-term care expenses? It's not necessarily a question of if I'll be in long-term care. It might be a question of when. I mean, the odds are pretty high that you might spend some time in a long-term care facility. I mean, I think they're around 70% where one of us will spend some form of time in long-term care. Yeah. I could tell you just offhand a few stories that are hit very close to home. We have some really great clients of ours that have been with us a while, and we've seen this story unfold multiple times over our history here. But just the other day, I had a conversation with a great client of ours, their son. We were talking with him, and it's unfortunate. We were doing some long-term care planning years ago for his parents and everything like that, and all of a sudden, dad passed away. Mom's in her late 70s, and she's early for this to happen, but needs to go into a care facility. It needs some memory care. I mean, it's going to cost them around $7,500 per month for long-term care. I mean, and that's not even the most expensive I've heard. That's just basically kind of the industry average for that type of care that she needs. Yeah. And so you look, I mean, $7,500 per month. That's a lot of money. So we need to figure out how we're going to try to implement supplement this. Now, thank God in this situation, we have already had stuff set up to supplement for long-term care. I mean, there's a lot of ways. I have another client, Ron, over a 5-year time frame, she spent $350,000 on long-term care. So, it's I think a lot of you out there would rather that money go to your kids or your charities or somewhere else other than to pay for long-term care. So there is a conversation that needs to be had, right? What are my options for long-term care? There is a few different ones. There's some where we call it self-insured, which means, hey, okay, I got $1 million for retirement, but I also have maybe $300,000 or $400,000 extra that I'm okay with using that money for long-term care. It's kind of like an extra emergency fund, but for long-term care is a great way to some clients that have excess money to just kind of set that aside and we're going to invest it and we'll just kind of self-insure, they call it, is a form of protection. There's also the traditional long-term care policies. Now, I'll be very honest, some of the ones, and you might be familiar with these as well, Ron, but some of the ones in years past I wasn't the biggest fan of because it was kind of like car insurance. You paid and paid and paid and paid, and if you didn't use the long-term care policy, well, then all the money you paid in was gone, right?
Yeah.
And nobody likes to lose money. So essentially you were paying for coverage. If you didn't use the coverage, then the premiums were lost. Now they actually have somewhere we could do lump sums. You could put X amount of money into a long-term care policy. Maybe you put $200,000 or $300,000 that we were going to supplement for long-term care into a policy. Let's use an example. If you do go into a nursing home, or a care facility, they pay out a pretty huge amount for care. They'll basically exhaust that $300,000 and more in that scenario where they're going to pay out for care, and it's an extremely high amount. It's a lot better than just paying for it yourself. But the best part of those policies that if we put that lump sum in, let's say, and we never use long-term care, majority of that money, or sometimes all of it in some cases, goes back to the beneficiaries as a form of a death benefit. Right. So it's a way to get some of your money back or all of it in some cases for not having to use the care. So that way we're still able to kind of factor it into an estate plan and use that money just in case it happens. But if it doesn't, we still have the money to go back to our beneficiaries or to our heirs. So it's a real conversation that clients need to have. And again, that's one of our pillars of retirement planning.
You're listening to the Financial Beat with Logan Sadler, Regari Financial. Once again, if you'd like to have a discovery meeting, a getting to know you conversation with Logan, the number to call is 888-823-PLAN. So important to use the word plan in that phone number there, and also makes it easier to remember. Here's a question that you get asked all the time, I'm sure, as long as you've been in this business, in times of market volatility and otherwise, just about any time. Logan, how can I get the highest possible return on my money? And I bet you get tired of hearing that question.
Yeah, that's one thing we're really good about. Looking at things from more of a planning aspect. We don't have a lot of clients call up and say, "Hey, Logan, I got $200,000. What's the highest return I could possibly get on that?" That's just kind of one-off stock picking and things of that sort. What we really like to focus on is the planning. A lot of our clients have multiple different assets and want to figure out how to make that plan last, right? So, and I think one of the better ways to ask that question is, it's one of my favorite quotes. It's actually pretty popular in the industry. Will Rogers once said, "It's less about the return on my money and more about the return of my money." Okay. So that is very, very important. And I think, so how do I make sure my money gets returned to me? I think is one of the biggest questions. Yes, it's great to grow your money. I totally understand that concept. And I'm a big believer in your money needs to grow, but there's also a lot of people out there where I just don't want to lose any money, right? I would just like to have my money, make a decent interest rate, as well as, being able to know that during these volatile times, my money is going to be there. Sometimes for some of these retirees that have worked, or pre-retirees that have worked, 20, 30, or 40 years, sometimes they just want to know that their money's there. So I think the biggest thing is not always chasing returns. Obviously, returns are important. We love to have that conversation at our discovery meeting when clients come in. I ask them, what is a reasonable rate of return for you? Some of them are realistic, and say 3 to 5% or 6% or 7%. Some people get really used to what the market's done lately and they want, 12 to 15% returns. Obviously, over a period of time, that's not sustainable. So it's very important to realize what type of investor you are and know what you want. Again, a lot of people just want to know that their money's there and how to make it last.
We talk about fees a lot on this show, and a lot of people have no idea what kind of fees they're paying inside their portfolio. But, everybody wants to pay the lowest fees, or maybe it seems that way sometimes. I'm sure you get a lot of questions about this. Where can I pay the lowest fees for financial advice? Is that the question that you should be asking?
No, it's not. I think that's so funny, Ron, because I totally am all about knowing what you're paying and knowing what you're getting in return. I think the better question to ask is, where do I get the best value for the fee that I'm paying? I think that's the question to ask, And it's funny, I think financials and a few other industries is one of the only ones where people say, I want to go out there and find the absolute cheapest financial advisor. I don't think that's a great call.
No.
You don't necessarily say, I'm going to go out there and buy the absolute cheapest car. Well, you're probably going to get the cheapest car, right? I mean, it's just kind of how it works,
Yeah, you get what you pay for. Yeah.
Exactly, Ron. You get what you pay for. So I think it's really more based around the value. I've seen some clients where, their advisor's charging them a lot, but they're doing a lot. They're providing a lot of value. They're there when they need them. They have a lot of different planning aspects going on. And I tend to throw myself in that same category. I never advertise, and those of you that listen to the show, I don't say, give us a call, come in for the discovery meeting. We're the cheapest person around. That's not what I want to charge everybody a fair fee or a fair amount for what the value is in return. I definitely think financial planning is more based off the value and the relationship you have with the advisor. I think having someone you could talk to and bounce ideas off of, and really more of a family wealth counselor, I think is really what we aim to be for a lot of our clients, is somebody that's there when they need them, obviously can do portfolio management, but making sure we're doing more than just stocks and bonds and mutual funds. We need to look at long-term care, life insurance, potential college planning, a lot of these different topics that some advisors that you guys might have aren't talking about. And I think that's where the value is on the financial advice side, is making sure you offer more than just, hey, come in, let's buy this S&P 500 mutual fund and you'll be fine. No, where's the planning? What's my income going to look like? What's my tax situation in the future? And making sure you're looking at what value you're getting in return for what you're paying.
Well, a lot of people and everybody should be concerned about taxes in the future. We all know that at some point taxes are going to have to go up. We don't know by how much, and we don't know exactly when it's going to happen. How about someone who says, Logan, I'm concerned. What can I do to pay less in taxes this year? Should they just be worried about this year?
Yeah. It's our fault as people. We're all a lot of us are very short-term thinkers, right? Yeah. It's always about, how can I save money today, or where can I get dinner for today? We don't think about next week or next year. And so I think the biggest thing is that we try to implement with our clients is thinking long-term, Ron. Like you said, it's more important. I think the better question to ask is, how can I save on taxes in the future years, or maybe even for the rest of my life? That is the big question. So a lot of you out there have heard about Roth conversions, right? I mean, for those of you that haven't heard of them, essentially what you do is you take money from a taxable bucket, pay the taxes on it now, and then are able to create tax-free growth on a Roth IRA. That's a great way to produce income in the future that's potentially going to be all tax-free. There's other things like, if you're eligible to contribute to a traditional Roth or a regular Roth IRA, that's a great way to save on taxes in the future. There's also life insurance is a great way to where we're able to utilize death benefit as well as potential tax-free growth and income in the future tax-free. So I think what I like to focus on is, it is important to understand your tax structure right now. It is. It's very important. But it's also just as important to realize that there might be this tax bomb coming in the future that we're not looking for. I mean, you could only ignore it so long before all of a sudden, it might smack you in the face, right? So I think you need to understand that planning is not just 1 year at a time. It's looking at your overall lifetime. My goal with our clients is, how can we possibly reduce your overall lifetime tax bill? That to me is the whole goal. Obviously, paying Uncle Sam his fair share, but making sure you're not giving him more than $1 more, especially over your lifetime. It makes a huge, huge difference. So, yeah. I think any of you guys that have been listening to the show for a while, and, if you've got a good hunk saved for retirement and you're looking at getting ready to retire, give us a call. Come in, sit down. It doesn't cost anything for the first meeting. Let's sit down and let's just get to know each other. I think asking yourself a few of these questions and me being able to reinterpret them to you as far as what is your goals? How do we envision retirement? What do you want from a financial advisor? What value have you not been getting that you might want? And I think that's where we kind of separate ourselves as far as being a comprehensive advisor that also really relies on what the value is that we bring to our clients. So give us a call. Give me an hour of your time. I'd love to sit down with you.
You want to have a conversation with Logan Sadler? It's this easy. Call this number, 888-823-PLAN. That is 888-823-7526. But all you have to do today is leave your name and your phone number, and you'll get a call back from the fine folks at Regari Financial, and you can arrange the time at a convenient time for you and Logan to have that conversation. Now, this can be a phone call or it can be a Zoom connection. Maybe you might even want to come into the office, one of the offices, either Hemet or Redlands, and have that conversation with Logan. Either way, that initial get-together is not going to cost you a penny and not going to obligate you to do anything at all, but I can guarantee you that you're going to get some great information from it. You'll find out a lot more about your financial situation than you knew when you first started. 888-823-PLAN is your number to call to make it happen. This is the Financial Beat. Ron Stutz along with Logan Sadler. There's more coming up on the other side of this timeout.
You're listening to The Financial Beat, the show that makes sure your financial plan has the perfect pitch.
Welcome back. This is the Financial Beat. Ron Stutz here along with Logan Sadler. 888-823-PLAN is your all-important phone number if you'd like to reach Regari Financial. And you can just call today and leave your name and phone number. You'll get a call back, and then you can arrange a time to have your one-on-one discovery meeting with Logan Sadler. Same guy here on the radio here. You have an opportunity to talk with him on the phone or maybe via Zoom and get a better idea of where you are, ask some very pertinent questions, and then that might lead to an in-office visit in Hemet and Redlands. But either way, there is absolutely no obligation attached to this. And again, that phone number to call is 888-823-PLAN. You know, we mentioned earlier in the show that Logan has some YouTube videos up right now, and you can go to Regari Financial and search for those YouTube videos, and you can find out all kinds of things. Just go to YouTube. You can find them there. But also, you might not know that Logan has a podcast started fairly recently. Logan, tell us about how folks can access that.
Yeah, the best part about the podcast is it's accessible wherever you want to listen to this radio show. We actually record that as well and put it on the podcast platform. So wherever you might be going, you can go to wherever you might download podcasts. That might be Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, all those locations, wherever you listen to podcasts, you'll be able to go on there, download the show, and listen to it wherever you're at. So that way there's over 50 episodes, I believe, on there that you could, again, listen to at your convenience and educate yourself wherever you might be traveling.
Yeah, and I mentioned the YouTube videos. You should go to Financial Beat and search that, right?
Yeah, go over to the YouTube and type in The Financial Beat, and you'll pop up right to our channel. And again, there's videos on there each week being uploaded, so click subscribe. That way you get those alerts whenever those videos are uploaded.
Yeah, I think I mentioned go to Regari Financial before, and I just wanted to make sure we clarified that so folks can go and know how to get those. Hey, we got some great questions every week from our listeners out there in Southern California. And let's go to the mailbag here. And sometimes we call this request line because sometimes questions come in via phone. But either way, got a question here from Lucy in Riverside. Lucy says, Logan, I've decided to retire at age 64, even though it's probably debatable as to whether I have enough retirement savings to do that. But my dad is in his mid-80s, and I know I'm going to be getting a fairly big inheritance from him someday. I just don't know when, and I don't know exactly how much. Do you think this is a safe move for me to retire now at 64?
Well, first off, thank you for writing in, Lucy. I appreciate the question. I'm going to be real honest here. I'm not a big believer in retirement plans that are based off of potentially getting money down the road. I think I call that bubble planning, right? You're hoping on a bubble to pop so you can get some money. It's something where it's extremely risky. It really is. I mean, you don't know how much longer your dad will live, if he'll need care. As I mentioned in the earlier subject, actually, we had a client that spent $350,000 over 5 years on long-term care. So, I mean, mean, there is a lot of these subjects where, depending on how much inheritance you consider being a fairly big amount, it could be, like I said, if it's $1 million or $2 million or whatever the amount is, you got to really know that how many beneficiaries are there? Does your dad have a charity he's donating some of that to? I mean, there's a lot of risk in putting all your eggs and hoping that you get this inheritance. The other part of it is you're age 64, which is a good age to retire. It's on the younger side, but it's a good age. The biggest problem is not knowing more about your situation would be the deciding factor. I mean, if we had plenty of money to last and if dad's money came, then great, then it's a better plan. But if you're counting on your money lasting you 10 years, then you're going to be out of money and then you're going to be relying on whatever your dad leaves you as the inheritance. It might be a very risky plan. And I don't like people to just do a retirement plan on hope. So I think it's very important to make sure that you've met with a financial professional, either like us or somebody like us, to make sure that you are in a position to where you're comfortable to retire off what you have. And then if the inheritance comes and we know the amount, then we can start doing, obviously, some estate planning to make sure it comes over efficiently.
And who knows, Lucy, your dad might live to be 100 years old, so that could change the whole thing.
I got some clients that still come in here, Ron. I mean, they're in their mid-90s driving their car in here and having coffee and stuff. So, I mean, like you said, it's something where the realistic expectation is we do have to plan that dad could be alive a long time.
People are definitely living longer these days. Next question is from Danny, and Danny is in Hesperia. Danny says, my retirement income consists of Social Security, a small pension, and money that I withdraw from IRAs. How much tax should I be withholding from each of these income streams?
Well, that's a great question, Danny. I would need a little more information to kind of give you a rough estimate, just because I don't know how much your Social Security is or how much the pension is or how much you're withdrawing from your IRAs. It kind of depends on which tax bracket you might be in. That's where I would base the withholdings. And your tax professional should be able to help you out with this as well. If not, give us a call. I'd be happy to run some estimations for you. But, really, with Social Security, it depends on what age you are as well, too, because after your full retirement age, Social Security doesn't become taxable based off your other income. So I would really want to know more as far as how much like I said, if your Social Security is, let's say, $2,500 a month, the pension's $1,000 a month, and you're drawing, $3,000 a month from your Social Security, that puts you in a good income bracket. So you want to withhold more. It would just depend on what we're looking at from the withholding standpoint. So give us a call, and I'd be happy to dive more into depth on the specifics on that one.
All right, Danny, thank you very much for the question. Hope you will follow up with that phone call. Again, that number is 888-823-PLAN. Got one more question today, and it's from Melody, and Melody is in Fallbrook. And Melody says, my mom is retired. My dad is retiring in about 2 years. They want to buy a vacation home that they'll eventually move into after dad retires. They don't have very good credit, so their interest rate would be a bit high. But if I co-sign the loan with them and have my name on the deed, they could get a lower rate. I'm also thinking that I could write off my trips to the vacation home since I'll be checking on my investment property. Is there a reason that I shouldn't do this?
Yeah, I got kind of a funny question to ask, right? Is, do you trust your parents with money, right? that would be my question there. No, I mean, realistically, I would want to make sure that if your parents, because your name's going to be on there and on the loan, I would make sure realistically, just in case, do you have enough income to cover that extra rental income or the extra mortgage that you might have to cover? Is what my question would be, just in case if mom and dad get tight on income, you have the means to either help supplement or have the means to cover it in full just in case something were to happen. That would be my biggest thing. Obviously, yeah, you could just sell the home if you needed to, but then you're going to have mom and dad move in with you, right? So it's one of those situations where I would make sure that you were able to kind of cover the difference, because that can be a great way, obviously, to help your mom and dad out, and obviously be a good thing for you to have somewhere to actually travel to and go visit it as well. And like you said, the tax incentives as well. So it could be a great option. I would just really make sure that you're understanding that you're a partner in this. So you want to make sure that you can cover your end if you needed to, or more than your end, to make sure, obviously, because you probably don't want to evict your parents right down the road. So making sure, I wouldn't. I don't know about you, Ron. That wouldn't be a fun situation. So. No. just make sure you have the means to cover it, or it's something in your means to where you'd be able to float it for a little while if things got tough.
Well, it's sort of like, when you get on an airplane and they talk about the airbags coming down, you want to make sure you put yours on first before you start worrying about other folks. And, that's the same situation with Melody here. She needs to make sure that she is financially secure no matter what. So, at any rate, Melody and Danny and Lucy all contributed great questions today. Good job answering those questions, Logan. If any of these three people or everybody out there listening right now will make a phone call, they can come in and have a conversation with you, or have a conversation with you via Zoom, or maybe it might be just a phone call. I'm going to give out the number in just a moment, as we always do. But what happens in that discovery meeting?
Yeah, listen, if you're one of those clients out there that's been listening to the show for a while, or maybe this is your first time listening, it's important. If you're getting close to retirement or getting ready to retire within the next year or sooner, it is very important that you give us a call. Let's come in, let's sit down, let's go over what your financial situation looks like, and make sure we get a retirement roadmap. We want to know how much income can we draw? When's the optimal time to take Social Security? What's going to be our tax implications of some of these investments we might have, or what's the tax advantages we'll have to making adjustments? So it's very important that if you're getting ready to retire, give us a call. If you saved a good amount for retirement and you're ready to get a retirement roadmap together, give us a call, come in, spend an hour at that discovery meeting, and let's see if we're a good fit to help implement this retirement strategy.
All right. The number to call if you'd like a discovery meeting is 888-823-PLAN. That's 888-823-PLAN. Call that number right now. Leave your name and phone number. You'll get a call back from the good folks at Regari Financial, and then you can arrange a time to have your discovery meeting, and you're going to be talking with Logan Sadler at that point. 888-823-PLAN. Remember, there is no cost for this conversation and no obligation attached to it at all, so you can certainly get a lot of good information and not have to, come back and do anything if you don't want, but you may eventually become a client, but not right away, certainly. 888-823-PLAN is your number to call. You can get a lot of information that way. 888-823-PLAN. You've been listening to The Financial Beat with the one and only Logan Sadler. I'm Ryan Stutz. Logan, it's been fun being on the radio with you.
Yeah, great show. Feel like we got a lot of valuable information out there, as well as brought some usual humor, especially on Ron's part. So I appreciate it. Thank you for listening, and look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Well, being funny looking isn't everything, so thank you anyway.
Good point.
Join us again next time for the next edition of The Financial Beat with Logan Sadler, Regari Financial.
The information provided is for educational purposes only and is not intended as investment advice for anyone. All information discussed is believed to be from reliable sources. However, we make no representation as to its completeness or accuracy. The views presented today are those of BD Financial Group and do not necessarily represent the views of Alpha Star Capital Management, LLC. The opinions expressed are subject to change without notice and do not constitute financial, tax, or legal advice. Please consult with your financial professional before executing any financial strategy. Investment advisory and financial planning services are offered through Alpha Star Capital Management, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Alpha Star and BD Financial Group are independent entities. SEC registration does not constitute an endorsement of the firm by the Commission, nor does it indicate that the advisor has attained a particular level of skill or ability.